And you're going live now, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Good morning, all. Welcome to the meeting of the combined Pautu o Te Rangi Joint Management Committee and Harding Park Committee. So I will begin with Krakia as opening. So let us pray. Gloria nui kia koe e te atua, he maunga runga ki te whenua, me te whakaaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa, ino atu tēnei kia koe, mau manakitanga ka mātou, mai i te timatanga o tēnei rangi, taino ki tēnei haura, ma i hoa koutou manaki, mana koutou e tiaki, ma i hoa te maramatango na kanawi, i runga kia koutou, mana anō, i te pia te rangi mārie, kia koutou ai anei, a ke tonu atu. Amen e, mauri ora kia tātou.
Amen.
And so we will begin with apologies. I have one apology from William Wright. Are there any other apologies?
We have everybody now.
No, Robert's not here, I don't think, is he?
Oh, thank you.
Good morning, Councillor Joyce Paki.
Morning.
We have an apology from William Wright. Doesn't appear to be any other apologies. I will move that the apology be received. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Georgina. Put that motion. All in favour say aye.
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 No. Carried. We move to item 1.3, which is confirmation of the agenda. Combined Pautu o Te Rangi Joint Management Committee, Harding Park Committee, to confirm the agenda. Would someone please move that we confirm
I'll
the
move.
agenda? Thank you. Seconded.
I'll second.
Councillor Wethy. We'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Contrary no. Carried. We now move to 1.4, which is conflict of interest declaration. Do we have any conflicts of declaration?
No.
Doesn't appear to be any. Thank you. We'll then move to item 2, which is confirmation of minutes of the committee meeting held on the 16th of August 2022.
I'll move those.
Move, yes, please. Thank you. Seconded.
I'll second that. I was there.
Councillor Wethy. So we confirm that the minutes of the committee meeting held on the 16th of August 2022 are a true and correct record.
All right.
We'll
Yes.
put the motion. All in favour say aye.
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 Carried. So item 3 is the reserve management plan for Pautu o Te Rangi adoption. And we've got the items there listed A, B, C. A, adopts the Pautu o Te Rangi Harding Park and Old Mount Wesley Cemetery Reserve Management Plan, September 2022. As attachment A, as a reserve management plan for Pautu o Te Rangi Historic Reserve. B is the request the Minister of Conservation approve Pautu o Te Rangi, Harding Park and Old Mount Wesley Cemetery Reserve Management Plan, September 2022. Attachment A, as a reserve management plan for the Pautu o Te Rangi Historic Reserve in accordance with section 4.1.1 of the Reserve Act 1977. And C notes that resolution B will not be action unless the Kaipara District Council adopt and approve Pautu o Te Rangi Harding Park and Old Mount Wesley Cemetery Reserve Management Plan, September 2022, as a reserve management plan for Harding Park and Old Mount Wesley Cemetery. This decision is scheduled for 28 September 2022. And I need to add, in addition there, item D, that delegates to the chair and CE to make editorial changes. Now, I'll move that. Would someone second that, please?
Happy to second it.
Thank you. Now, any matters for discussion?
Mr. Chair, I think the key thing is to look at some of the track changes that we spoke to and went through at our last meeting, and to make sure people have checked that is what their memories recall of that meeting and the track changes. I made from the proposed amended draft, I made one further suggestion, if you may remember, and sent that in and got some support from Willie Wright about adding a slight amendment to the painting of buildings within the park. I haven't heard any other comments from any other of the committee about whether they supported that track. I think Mark has already included those in the amended document.
Yes. Mark, did you want to make a comment?
So we've added that bit to the resolution there, delegating to the chair and the chief executive to make editorial changes. So we could make some minor changes, such as the change suggested there, which we've noted how that could be incorporated. So it's just taking direction from yourselves now if there are any further minor changes that we can address through that.
Through the chair, can I have somebody please read out that amendment just so that the public know what that change is? Just as somebody has it handy, what you're thinking that amendment is and what area it goes into in the plan, just so they understand.
Well, Mark, you came up with the wording, which I agreed with. Have you got that there?
Just finding that. Okay, I've got it here. I believe it is. So this is regarding buildings in the park having a heritage, so having a heritage theme or heritage design. So we've got the amended wording here being the design of new buildings and structures and alterations to existing buildings and structures, including repainting, shall complement the heritage focus of the park with a view to creating a heritage park atmosphere. Note, this is targeted at new buildings and alterations and shall not extend to requiring the redesign or repainting of existing buildings outside of scheduled maintenance.
And just to give committee members the background of that, I just felt that it would be unfair to dictate to existing stakeholders that they had to repaint an existing building because it wasn't consistent with the nature of the park if it was outside their normal maintenance program. But when those buildings came up for maintenance and needed repainting, then was the time to consider whether a colour change to be more consistent with those buildings in the rest of the park should be considered and implemented. So by expanding that wording that it was originally in the draft, as Mark has now just read out, encompasses that.
Thank you, Councillor Weddy. So you're happy with that. Are there any other comments?
Yes, just through the chair, I have looked at the amendment and agree with that. I just for thought, and I'm mindful that I missed the last meeting and it may have been discussed, but I had a bit of a corridor with Woody Wright this morning in regards to, is there a possibility of selecting a wall that may have a mural on it that reflects some of the local history of Māori, Dalmatian, European descendants of Dargaville, or local hapu. I know that's kind of throwing another thought in there, but just while we're on that, I thought that it might be a prime opportunity to look at a mural that reflects the relationships of the respective intertwining, I guess, the rāranga of the hapu and the the Dalmatian community as well as our European community.
Okay. Any comment there, Mark?
So at this point, well, I suppose this was stepping back to deliberations. We can't really go making changes or including things which were not raised by submitters. We did have submitters raise that they wanted the park to celebrate all cultures. And we did include that. That was you asked that be included, so that has been included in the final reserve management plan that's been presented here for adoption. And now that didn't specifically include a mural, but giving effect to that, you could have a discussion with the Dargaville Museum or the Kuiper Heritage Machinery, about what if they have maybe a wall available which could be painted with a mural, and then it'd be the question of if that's part of the heritage focus, coming back to this committee. So it's something which could be actioned under the plan.
Cool.
Yeah, but I don't know if we can include it as a specific action.
Thanks, Mark.
But that, I think, would, Mark, if I may, that would in fact allow what Georgina suggested to be actioned within the current policy framework of this reserve management plan. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's correct. So, if someone wanted to undertake that as a project, this plan would be supportive of that.
Okay, I think the idea has merit and is worth considering, so should be sort of remain on the table for the incoming committee in the new term.
Thank you.
Yeah. Total cool.
Any further comments?
Through the chair, I just want to endorse what Councillor Wethy has put forward, and appreciate the feedback or comment around going forward and potentially making sure that those colour choices are sympathetic to the reserve. So thank you, Councillor Wethy. Total call that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll put that motion. So all in favour say aye.
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 Contrary, no. That is carried. So we now go to item 4, Reserve Management Plan for Harding Park and Mount Wesley Cemetery, recommending for adoption. I would like to move that. Do I have a seconder?
I'll move.
Oh, cool.
Peter, Councillor Weedy would second. The Harding Park Committee notes the Reserve Management Plan for Potu o Te Rangi adoption report and its attachment as presented to the 6th of September 2022 combined Potu o Te Rangi Joint Management Committee and Harding Park Committee. And B, recommends the Kuiper District Council amend the Potu o Te Rangi, Harding Park and Old Mount Wesley Cemetery Reserve Management Plan in accordance with attachments A and B prior to adopting it as the Reserve Management Plan for Harding Park and Old Mount Wesley Cemetery. And we have an addition here, item C, which is, and I'll ask Tracy to talk regarding that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a similar ability as the previous resolution, and it delegates the chair and CE to make editorial changes to attachments A and B before presenting them to council. It essentially is the same thing, except that we have 2 committees here and we need to just enable that to happen for both committees.
Kia ora.
So I guess number 1 is that you're all happy that we add item C to that recommendation
Yes.
for adoption.
Yeah.
Yes,
Kia ora.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any comments which people wish to make?
No.
No, it's
Ka hori.
basically the same as last one. Yep.
All right, so we'll put that motion. All in favour say aye. Contrary, no. The motion is carried. Well, Tracy, we arrive at item 5,
We have, just
which
like
is
that.
closure. This will be one of the quickest meetings we've ever had, I think. So thank you all for your attendance. Thank you all for your input in the last few years that we've been able to have an input in terms of the Joint Management Committee. So the next process, Tracy,
Yes, through the chair, the next process is that the triennium ends and the new council establishes the next round of committees, and that usually happens towards the end of the year. So we don't know what committees that will create at this point, so we can't confirm anything, but that's the next stage. But the plan will move on through to the council meeting in September and onwards through the process that Mark is leading.
thank you.
Mm.
So thank you all for your input, and so I will close with krakia. Let us pray. E te atua tēnei mātou pununga nei, te whakawhetai kia koe, maumanaki tanga kia mātou, mai timatango tēnei hui, taino ki tēnei haura, ma I hoa koutou manaki, mana koutou e tiaki, I hoa te maramatango na kanawi, ki runga kia koutou, mana anō, te piho te rangi maria, kia koutou ai anei, a ke tonu atu. Āmene, mauri ora kia tātou.
Amene.
Kia